to England when I was 19 years old, and I was poor. I was in college, and so I had this tradition every Sunday. I would go to a £1 movie theater called the Prince Charles Theater, which is just off Leicester Square. And then afterward, I would go to Haagen-Dazs and then walk around and look at all the movie posters. It's where all the premieres are, and then, or the what was playing in the West End. I couldn't afford to go to any of it. And so one day I got my Haagen-Dazs, and I was leaning up against the wall, and a man came up to me and said, "Hey, can I take your picture?" And then I did this. "I'm not gonna go home with you, dude." And this is what he said: "I would never have sex with you, ever, ever." He basically spent 10 minutes telling me how sexually desirable I was, and finally I was like, okay, I get it. And then he was like, "But I think you're interesting looking, and I'm a photographer. I shoot Rolling Stone covers. My name is David LaChapelle." So he took a Polaroid of me, and like a week, 2 weeks later, I get a call to the central phone at the hostel I'm living in, because first-year students, American students, can't live in the dorms because they're all reserved for British students. And so I was living in a Holland Park hostel. And they're like, "Hey, you got a phone call." And it was Next Modeling Agency, and they're like, "David LaChapelle wants to shoot you for a Prada ad." And so I was like, okay. I got 1,000 pounds. I thought I was rich. I was working at Blockbuster at the time, and I still worked at Blockbuster. So at that point, I would go to Milan and do like a season of shows and then go back to Blockbuster. Because the shows don't pay anything. People don't realize that. Like even big stars, they make like $900 a show. If you do 3 shows in a season, that's $2,700. That's not a lot of money. You make your money on contracts, and men don't get contracts. But it was like 3 years of my life. And the reason why, so there's an episode of The Brady Bunch where Greg becomes a rock star because they had already bought the suit of clothes and he fit the suit. That was my modeling career, because sample size is 36 long, and I'm a 36 long. So I fit all the sample clothes, and also I was a good model. But runway walks for men are pretty normal. Like, you don't do anything, if you did this, you would not be hired again. You know what I mean? There's nothing showy about it. It's just a simple, like, erect walk. It's just this. You look dead in the face. Bored to be there. You're a little bored. Really bored. But like, the women all got signature walks. If a man had a signature walk, you would not be cast again. So one time though, I had an Agnes B fashion show that I booked, and right after that same day, I booked a Comme des Garçons fashion show. I went to the Agnes B, I think it was my first season in Paris, and they shaved my haircut into a bowl. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to let them do that. They were my bosses, and there were no cell phones back then. It was in the 1800s. There were no cell phones, so I couldn't like call anybody. I'm not gonna run to a payphone and be like, "Hey, Jacques, they want to shave my head into it." So I let him do it, and I got to Comme des Garçons, and they fucking lost their mind on me. Started blaming me, and I was crying in makeup. It was awful. It was really awful, but it was a good time. I learned a lot about myself doing that. But here's the thing, I didn't drink or anything fun, so I would go to the parties and be treated like garbage, because I was like, everybody was loaded, and I'm like, "I can't hear you, it's too loud in here." "How old are you?" "I'm 19. Anyway, what's your name and your guess?
Jessica with a G. No, I'm kidding. But
Is it really?
No. There's another Jessica.
That's my kind of humor.
I was trying to be unique. And the number 3.
Number 3, what's the number? No.